This is my makeup journey, and here are some brands I used to love. Welcome to everybody watching today. Thank you so very much for joining me. Today I wanted to do a bit of a chatty video for you guys, talking a little bit about my makeup journey. This was a question I got towards the end of 2025, and I've been trying to like pick little topics to chat about with you guys. I've already talked about product, my journey with certain makeup products in my makeup collection, but I feel like the brands I use now are very different to the brands that I used 10 to 15 years ago when I first started making content and stuff. So I thought I could come on here and share with you some of the brands that I used to rate really highly and that I no longer use and why I'm no longer using them, and sort of talk about what has replaced it for me. I think it could be an interesting video. Let me know in a comment down below how this journey has been for you. I know some people bought a foundation when they were in their teens and they use it for the next 30 years if it's still around, and they're very bummed when that product becomes unavailable. But for me, my makeup preferences and the way I like to do my makeup has always been very leading in the kind of products that I enjoy. And I feel that that also has meant that as formulas and brands have evolved, that it has meant me going into different categories of makeup and no longer liking certain brands because it didn't go with the kind of makeup that I want to do for myself. So I'm pretty solid in what I like makeup wise, and I try to find brands that fit that, and not every brand keeps doing the same things all the time, I feel. And I also think that especially if you get older, let's say you used to love Estee Lauder Double Wear in your 20s and you're now in your 40s or your 50s and you're still using that and you think your makeup no longer works, maybe stop using that foundation. Because as someone who's done their makeup for the past 20 years, I can tell that my 40-year-old skin is liking very different things than my 20-year-old skin did, So maybe sometimes changing up the products can also be good and help you to create a makeup look that still works for you. So that's another thing that goes into this video, I guess. But here are some brands that I know that I used to rate really, really highly, but that have pretty much disappeared from my makeup collection altogether. And the first one is a really, really major one, and it's Benefit. So back in the day, when I was a teenager, I wasn't really into makeup at all. I was a bit of a tomboy, and I didn't start to wear makeup more seriously until I started work when I was in my early 20s. And at the time, I was a student going into working life, and life was expensive in my idea, for my standards, and adding makeup and skincare and those kind of things into my routine was an expense I wasn't used to having to make. So for me, everything was expensive. And I also thought that in order for makeup to be good, it had to be expensive. So when I first started buying makeup, it was Chanel, Dior, YSL. Also because the stores around me, it was either super cheap drugstore stuff, or it was these more high-end luxury makeup stores that only stock those brands. I didn't really have access to other brands that sort of bridged the gap between until I found Benefit. Benefit was one of those brands that wasn't super expensive at the time. It wasn't Dior, Chanel, YSL level expensive. They had fun products, fun packaging, fun names, and fairly good products. I think that over time, around 2008, 2010, 11, I think I tried every single Benefit product pretty much that was in their range. I had several of their blushes. I tried their lipsticks. I had single shadows. I had a concealer. The Erase Paste was something I used to swear by. And it's just one of those brands where I used to love them. Coralista was my go-to blush for years. It's one of the very few blushes in my lifetime that I've ever been able to hit major pan on and almost use up until it became too old to keep using. I had a couple of their face palettes. Benefit for a good while was my go-to brand. I think I did a blog post way back in the day of all the little bits I had from Benefit, and I would go out of my way to try and find this brand. I don't think it was readily for sale yet where I lived at the time. I remember being really excited when they finally came to a store near me, and it's just one of those things that really puts me, it just takes me back. They had all these really fun things, but I feel Benefit is one of those brands that kind of missed the boat when makeup started to change around like, let's say 2016, 20 to 2018, I feel was like the makeup boom. And then things started to become more skin focused. And Benefit stuck to a lot of the same products, but they didn't really innovate as much as other brands did. And I also feel that they just really bank on a couple of hero products that sell well. That's why the brand is still around. Their Brow Wow, or what's it called? Brow Gal. The entire brow range that they do. And of course they have brow services that they offer as well at counters where they wax your brows, which I think has been around since forever as well. And I just have seen the Benefit counter change over time from being quite makeup focused to being more like service brow focused almost. So for me, that shift is very different to what I like to do with my makeup. I've tried a lot of the Benefit brow products, but they were never my favorite. I know it's their like hero product, something that everybody swears by, but the brow gel on me, it felt heavy in my brows. I know that's not really a thing, but that's just the way I felt at the time. I didn't like any of their like brow pencils or stuff. I've tried so many of their things. And I just feel that as a lot of my favorite products from the brand were either reformulated or discontinued, I stopped being interested in this brand. So for me, as my makeup journey progressed, the brand no longer fit with where I was going. So that's why for Benefit, I really feel it was a huge staple. I have really good memories to like using their products. I think I still have a couple of things in my shop, like in a memory box somewhere of things I used to wear. But yeah, they were some of the first like slightly more expensive products when I really became serious about makeup that I really, really enjoyed using. And so Benefit has been a staple for me for a very long time. Another brand I really don't have too many products by anymore is Charlotte Tilbury. Charlotte Tilbury is, I think, they really went viral for a while, and I think I just kind of got sucked into the hype of, ooh, Charlotte Tilbury, beautiful brand, and it is a beautiful brand. I remember when the brand first came out, and the only place where you could buy it was Selfridges in the UK, in London, in the big store, and I remember going there and buying my first 2 lipsticks. And I remember trying out Red Carpet Red, and the MUA was like, wow, this looks so good on you. And it was one of my go-to red lipsticks for years after that. I really love that product. And as the brand started to grow and they started to do more and more products, I sort of started to realize, as I also tried more, I did full faces of Charlotte Tilbury products in the past. I had a full like array of Charlotte Tilbury lipstick colors that I had in my collection that I wore on the daily. I really, really enjoyed the brand. But a lot of it was this very golden toned, rosy sort of thing. And I started to just realize after a while, as I was like figuring out my undertone and stuff, that the things that Charlotte Tilbury offers, this like sort of effortless glam sort of thing, isn't really for me. It's actually one of the reasons why I haven't tried much by another brand. I still have another brand in my collection that to me fits a very similar bill to what Charlotte Tilbury has to offer. And with Charlotte Tilbury, I just felt like everything was a little bit too warm. Again, a brand where a lot of the things that I loved have either been reformulated, re-released, not as good as the way I remember it being, or they discontinued my favorite products altogether. I still have one Charlotte Tilbury foundation. I think, do I still have it, or did I now declutter it this year? I think I decluttered it this year. But they had this really beautiful, more lightweight foundation-like product that I loved. It was a really good like wear time. It was lightweight. It wasn't super dewy, but it had great wear time for how like lightweight it was. I think it was one of the very first more lightweight foundations that I ever tried that I truly, truly enjoyed. That didn't look oily or greasy after like 30 minutes or anything like that. So I really enjoyed the brand for a very long time, and then things just, it stopped making sense. After a while, I started to realize that one of the reasons why Charlotte Tilbury was going viral was because they were just sending out so much PR to influencers and like rewarding people for talking about the brand and not so much like being driven by like their sales and stuff. After a while, their marketing of like the, oh, darling sort of thing started to also not sit well with me. Charlotte Tilbury for years was a go-to brand for me to check out for Black Friday sales to see what they were doing. The sales became less enticing to me, as in like what they had on offers. The deals became more and more like difficult to find like good deals on the website as well. And over time, I just really stopped enjoying the brand as much as I did. I think they still do really beautiful things, but I can literally walk up to a Charlotte Tilbury counter or into one of their stores and go like, I've tried that, I've tried that, I've tried that, I've tried that, that didn't work, that was too dark, that was too warm toned, that blush didn't work for me. Like even the things that they claim are universal, just, it ended up not being a good match for me. So I did buy one of their products for Black Friday this past year because I really want to see what Pillow Talk Fair looked like on me. I bought it in a little set with the lip liner as well that matches it, and I don't think I've worn it yet. So that is something I still need to do. It's already May, and I've had that product since November. So Charlotte Tilbury just isn't top of mind. It's not a priority anymore, and that is just one of those brands where it's like, I used to love you. I used to be really excited for what they had on offer and like what the brand was all about. And it's just really one of those things that the bigger they grew, the less enticing they became to me. And I feel very similarly. Like, let me talk about the brand that I feel is very similar to Charlotte Tilbury, even though I still have a couple of their products, but I'm not likely to buy from this brand again. And that is Huda Beauty. Huda Beauty is a brand where I've liked a lot of their eyeshadow palettes, but I haven't tried much of anything else from the range. And that's mainly to do with the fact that the Huda Beauty like offerings, like the aesthetic that they promote, doesn't go with the way I like to do my makeup. It's this Instagram baddie, sort of like full beat. I don't know. It's just not really the way I want to like live my life. They've come out with some beautiful liquid blushes, and those I have been like sort of like eyeing up, like, do I like them? But then the shades they come in aren't really my thing. So for me, Huda Beauty is another one of those brands where I've tried the things I like. I still have the palettes that I love from them, but I've also decluttered a lot of their eyeshadow palettes because, again, I think I just fell for the hype for a while, and then I just things just didn't really gel with me. A lot of their like foundation like products I've never even tried because it's so heavy. And of course it's not heavy. Like makeup nowadays isn't heavy, but I don't need full coverage makeup. I don't go for full glam. It's just not really how I live my life. And so for me, that sort of transition that we've had to more low maintenance makeup in the past couple of years has been like very much up my street because we've been getting so many skin tints and like lightweight concealers, things that are very dewy, that my dry skin just loves. And I just feel like a brand like Huda Beauty would, like, if they wanted to entice me, they would have to come out with like a really good skin tint and like more like K-beauty-esque things. But we already have Rare Beauty who does that, so I don't think it's very likely that they will because it doesn't really go with the entire vibe of the brand, so that's okay. But it's also one of those brands where I'm like, I used to be really intrigued by it. It would go viral all the time, and now I'm just like, yeah, Huda Beauty has good products. I'm sure a lot of people like rave about them and love a lot of their products, but for me, it's not the right fit. And then two, I think really, really major ones. I mean, I used to be such a big fan of Urban Decay. It's a brand I had been stalking online since like way back in the day when I first got into makeup. I think like Too Faced and Urban Decay for a very long time were like on par for me. I tried the primer potion from Urban Decay really early on, and then also the Too Faced Shadow Insurance. Those were like the first ever eyeshadow primers that I tried, and they were a huge game changer for me. They really made a difference in how my makeup wore throughout the day, what my eyeshadow looked like, how it applied, how it went on, how I was able to blend it. Like, no skill required. It was just that one product that really made the difference. I ended up liking the Too Faced Shadow Insurance in the end a little bit better than I did the primer potion. I thought the primer potion packaging was a bit cumbersome. It came in this really beautiful bottle thing, but you couldn't get everything out, so they changed it over time to make it a little bit more user-friendly. I think I did try a couple of the newer renditions, but I remember buying those products online, and then if I had to make the effort of trying those, then I would go for the Too Faced one. Then I remember having a Too Faced Shadow Insurance a while ago. They had changed the formula and it became this really oily thing, and then you would squeeze out some of the product and you would get nothing of the primer, but you would only get the oils. So there was something about that formula that no longer worked for me, and then I found the Milani one, and I've been sticking to that ever since. It's also a lot cheaper than the Too Faced one was. And that's another one, like Benefit, to me, these two like brands fit in a similar vein where they used to have so many great hero products. I mean, I used to love the Urban Decay Naked Skin Foundation, the Naked Skin Concealer. Then they discontinued it. They had a really beautiful range of lipsticks, the Revolution lipsticks that they did, which they then reformulated into the Vice lipsticks, were really good. They had really good blushes, which they discontinued, Urban Decay did, and then they just never brought it back. And then by the time they did a blush again, it was like 10 years later. Like, they only started doing blushes again, like, recently. So with Urban Decay, I really feel... I know with Urban Decay exactly what happened in Too Faced as well. They were sold. So Urban Decay was sold to L'Oreal, and Too Faced was actually bought by Estee Lauder. And those transitions just didn't go well for how the brand was initially going. A lot of the hero products were either reformulated or discontinued. The Urban Decay displays used to look so different compared to what they look like now. I remember Urban Decay really being this brand that I felt was like tickling my creativity, and it was safe, but at the same time it was like pushing me out of the box of what I would normally go for. And that's something that I felt Urban Decay did really, really well at the time. And I just feel we've lost that a little bit with the brand, and therefore I've also stopped using them. And then COVID hit, they disappeared from the European market. They're still available in the UK, but on mainland Europe, you can no longer buy the brand, save for a couple of online places. But I like seeing things for real, and we used to have an Urban Decay counter in the city that I live in, and then that was gone, and now I just don't feel I have the same sort of like feeling with the brand anymore that I used to do. And I was so happy to see that they did a couple of the singles and stuff in the Black Friday sale, so I did pick up a couple of things to try them. But yeah, you know, I still have a shoebox filled with Urban Decay palettes that I've collected, because I used to collect I haven't collected many brands. Like, there used to be like the Too Faced chocolate bar palettes. I used to own all of those, but those I have decluttered all of them over time. With Urban Decay, I've only ever decluttered one palette, which I now kind of regret, because I was like, it would have been cool to have the entire collection together, and I don't think I have too many pictures of what it looked like on my blog. It was called like the vegan palette or the sustainable palette or whatever. But everything else that I've ever owned from the brand, I've kept. And that's, of course, something that Urban Decay did. Urban Decay brought us eyeshadow palettes. So they were massive into getting palettes to become mass appealing products, which it's such a weird thing, because I don't think they still sell a single eyeshadow palette anymore. Of course, eyeshadow palettes aren't really trending anymore. It's not something that is top of mind for a lot of like regular consumers, so you can understand why. But the Naked palette, that was a craze, and that craze just didn't stop for years. And of course, if you're on my channel, you know I still love eyeshadow palettes. I've loved eyeshadow palettes since their inception. But I still remember when I first got into makeup, having all of these singles, and then Urban Decay did palettes and really started to push this idea of having this really curated collection of eyeshadows, which was then cheaper than buying all of these singles. So it became more of like a cost-effective thing, and then they became like almost these like collectible things, because they also had these like limited edition things and beautiful packaging and stuff. So I really feel that because makeup trends just moved on, which is perfectly fine, a brand like Urban Decay also became less relevant to the world, because the things that they became famous for and that they were doing really well and that everybody knew them for, A, didn't become very popular, or B, they discontinued things which they then didn't bring back, or C, they did bring things back, but they were clearly of inferior quality. So I definitely feel that Urban Decay is one of those brands that just kind of didn't do very well for a while. I feel like there's a little bit more buzz around the brand nowadays. They're doing some good releases. There are some people talking about them again still. I mean, Space Cowboy had a moment like a year or two ago. So I do feel there are still products that are in the Urban Decay family that they still sort of like sell probably quite well to do well enough in a couple of markets. But the fact that they had to downscale so much is already quite telling. So I don't know what the future will hold for Urban Decay, but I definitely think that Urban Decay as a brand is one of those things where I'm like, I'm not likely to buy too much by that brand anytime soon. And Too Faced, I already mentioned them. I had the Milk Chocolate Soleil bronzer. I had a couple of their blushes, eyeshadow palettes, foundation, concealer. I've tried so many things. I used to have a powder from Too Faced that I used to swear by. I think I went through 3 or 4 of them before I think they discontinued it. It was this very nice sort of like almost veil kind of thing. Really beautiful, but it was very easy to use it up. It was like 6 weeks and then it was gone. And it wasn't something you could repress because it had a very weird sort of powdery veil-like texture. And the minute you repressed it, it became this hard solid rock, and that the thing that made the powder so beautiful on your skin was lost the minute you tried to repress it. So it's how I learned my lesson that repressing shadows or other powder products can actually like hurt the product in the end, because you're taking away one of the factors by repressing it, especially if you use alcohol. It can really tamper with the formula. So that's why I'm not a huge fan of doing that. Even if a product is almost gone and I could get more uses out of it, if I were to repress it, I don't tend to do that anymore because of that product. But yeah, Too Faced used to be like a big chunk of my makeup collection as well. And I don't think I still have a single Too Faced product in my entire makeup collection. There's just nothing left. They did re-release the makeup, like the the bronzer collection. They've reformulated it and it's now back. I think there are a few more shades. Milk Chocolate Soleil was one of the first bronzers I found that kind of worked for me. I now have plenty of bronzers that I feel work for me, and a lot of them are from the drugstore. So I don't think that I necessarily need this Too Faced thing in my life. I mean, I would try it just to see if it's the same as I remember it being. You know, it's like I would try it for the nostalgia of it having been a good product for me in the past. But is it something that I need now in 2026? And the answer to that for me is no. I don't need that in my life. So that's why for me, the entire Too Faced thing, I'm like, meh, I'm okay. I don't need that again. So yeah, for me, Too Faced was a beautiful brand as well, but that's just something that I'm no longer that interested in. And then, of course, there are the luxury brands that I also have already mentioned. I used to think I used to have expensive makeup for it to look good, but I've learned my lesson since. There are loads of good things at all different price points, and you kind of pick and choose what works for you, I find. Does that mean I'm no longer interested in brands like Chanel, YSL, Dior, or not? I definitely have some Dior products mostly. Like Dior is another brand. Me and Dior, we go way back when it comes to makeup. I had a couple of eyeshadow palettes by them that I really, really enjoyed. I've tried several of their foundations, and like Dior has some really, really good products, and I really feel that with the Backstage line, when that came out, they were really starting to tap into some other like makeup trends that made them more relevant again. But most brands, even like I see all this content being made with some of these brands, and I see it and it looks beautiful. And then I'm just like, I go to look at it myself in store, and then I'm like, nah. Then it's either looking really boring, or it's like I swatch like the YSL blushes that went viral. I love those. They look really beautiful. It's an excellent formula, but not a single shade in that range is something that I can realistically see myself wearing. So then why pay, I think they're close to 50 euros, maybe even over that, for a single blush? Why would I pay that much money if I already have so much really good blush in my makeup collection that was often a lot cheaper than a YSL blush that I like just as much? Make it make sense, you know? So for me, that there definitely price point comes into play with a brand like Charlotte Tilbury as well, where I'm like, it's getting to that point where I'm like, you know, cost versus like usability. I already have so many products. Is it then a wise decision to try this as well? Or is this something that I can do without, sort of thing. So for me, that definitely does go into it. I don't need all the products in the world to bring you good content or to do things. I like the things I like, and that's what I want to make content with. And certainly I'll keep trying things, and I'll keep trying new things to find things that I like. But if I go into store and I'm like, no, maybe not, then I'm not gonna go ahead and do it. And then, for instance, I went to London a few weeks ago, and I was like walking around the Selfridges Beauty Hall, and it wasn't busy at all. And you know, you walk over to one of these counters and you start swatching things, and then the sales associates don't even like come up to you and ask you if they can help you or anything like that. And I'm like, do you even want my business? You know? So, yeah. And so I also make choices based on that, which is perhaps a little bit petty, but I feel like that's part of their job, of course. So do you want to sell me makeup if you see that I'm like slightly interested or not? You know what I mean? Sometimes I don't want to like go up to someone and go like, oh, can I see this on or whatever. Sometimes I'm like this definitely happened when I was at Selfridges. The guy who worked at the hourglass counter, like I was like just browsing and finding some things out, like, oh, do you know the brand and whatever. Like they started a little bit of a conversation, and then I bought a highlighter that I really didn't need, but that was really beautiful on. And then I have it. I realized that's a really good replacement for the Glossier Halo Scope highlighter that I love that expired on me, and my RMS Beauty Living Luminizer that expired on me, because it's giving this very glass-like finish on the skin. And I'm like, okay, it's a completely different product because this is a liquid highlighter instead of a stick or a cream, but it does give a very beautiful finish on the skin that's very similar to what those products gave me. I'm like, okay, I can stop looking, because I've been looking for a good replacement for that sort of glass-like finish highlighter, and now I found it in a place where I wasn't even actively looking. You know what I mean? So sometimes it can also be helpful to just be surprised by someone at some point. But yeah, those are some of the products and brands that I really gravitated towards in the past. Makeup trends have changed. Some of those brands are still really easy to get. Some of them aren't. Some of it just doesn't really go with what I like to do with my makeup anymore. So there are loads of different factors that go into it. For now, like in recent years, I've really discovered K-beauty brands, and indie brands, of course, have become a much bigger part of what I like to like try out. And because I like trying those things out, it's become a bigger part of my channel as well. I feel like if you want good eyeshadows nowadays, you no longer go to an Urban Decay or a Too Faced. You go indie brands, perhaps. And when it comes to like complexion products and stuff, I really like trying K-beauty stuff because a lot of their things are pale enough for me, and two, they always do good undertones, and they have a lot of formulas that I like as well. So for me, those things just kind of like went hand in hand. So that's where my love is going. If you want to know what like my current favorite brands are, I could do another video like this in the future and talk to you about that. So let me know in a comment down below if that's something you would like to see. But I think if you're familiar with my content, I think you can already guess which brands I'm currently loving. Who knows? Let me know in a comment down below what are some of the brands that you used to love, that you no longer buy, or that you don't see yourself going back to anytime soon. I would love to know, and then I hope you have a great rest of your day, and then I hope to see you again really, really soon in a new video. Bye-bye!